Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Davidoc. I'm the supervisor for the Planning, Zoning, and Land Use Unit here in Oakland County. Welcome to our final virtual planners gathering of the year, SEMCOG's 2050 regional forecast, where we'll take a closer look at Oakland County by the numbers. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Jim Schaefer. Jim does an excellent job coordinating all of our planners gathering workshops. So Jim, thank you. Just a few reminders, the meeting is being recorded and will be made available on our website. Also, if you have questions, please use the chat function in Zoom and direct your questions to Jim. Jim will moderate a question and answer session after the presentation. So let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenters, Shirisha Uppalapati and Jeff Nutting, both from SEMCOG. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ryan. Good morning. I'd like to thank Ryan and Jim for inviting SEMCOG to share its new 2050 regional development forecast with you all. After a brief introduction, I'll turn things over to Shirisha to talk about Oakland County's recent demographics. After that, I'll show the socioeconomic trends revealed by our regional forecast, drill down into the Oakland County forecast, and finally show everyone how to access the forecast results for their own community. So quite a lot has happened since our last regional forecast was completed in 2018. I guess that's probably a bit of an understatement. The pandemic had multiple impacts on Southeast Michigan's economy and labor market, producing a sudden recession that saw the region lose 10% of its jobs in just a single year. This has been followed by a rapid recovery, but one that is still dealing with excessive consumer demand caused by lingering issues in our supply chain. And we don't yet know what the new normal will be moving forward. And now I'll turn things over to Shirisha.
So, thank you, Jeff, and good morning, everyone. Many trends in our forecast are informed by the past and current demographic and socioeconomic trends. So I'm going to present a few of those trends to set the stage for the forecast data that Jeff is going to present. This chart is showing the total population for Oakland County since the beginning of the last decade. The county experienced a robust growth with significant increases in population after 1950, when the baby boomers returned home and established homes in the suburban communities surrounding Detroit. During the Great Recession in 2010, the region lost population, but Oakland County gained more than 8,000 people. Even in the last decade, between 2010 and 2020, Oakland County's population growth was much higher than the region as a whole. The county's population grew by 6% compared to the 2.7% growth in the region's population. Oakland County is the second largest county in the region after Wayne County. More than a quarter of region's population resides in Oakland County. One interesting fact to note in this chart is how the shares of the population changed between the counties in the region over time, particularly during the early decades of the last century. At the beginning of the century, the then rural farming counties had almost similar shares of population. St. Clair County had 10% of the region's population. As automobile industry took hold in 1920s, setting up large manufacturing plants in Detroit, people from rural counties moved to the central city and subsequently to the neighboring counties of Oakland and Macomb. There have been many different growth periods in the history of our region. These maps classify each community by its period of greatest population growth. The map on the left shows the region, and the map on the right shows Oakland County. The post-war boom, shown by the light blue color, is evident in the inner ring communities surrounding the city of Detroit and including the communities in the southeast part of Oakland County. As the county continued to gain population, the growth started extending to the north and west of the county. This is the same chart as the first one with one additional data point for the 2022 added at the end. I know the earlier bars, they are all for a 10-year decade period, and the last one is only for 2 years, but I think it gives us an equally important understanding of the current situation. In the 2 years since 2020, Oakland County, along with other large counties in the region, lost population. There are many factors leading to this population loss, pandemic being one of them. These maps show the average annual population change by Michigan counties from 2010 to 2020 on the left, and annual change between 2020 and 2022 on the right. The green and blue counties gained population, whereas the red, orange, and yellow counties lost population. The comparison shows some significant differences. In the last decade, much of the UP and many counties in the northeastern lower Michigan lost population. Post-2020, many of these counties in the northern part of the Michigan gained population, whereas the counties in the southern part of the state, particularly the large counties, lost people in the last 2 years. Zooming into our region, Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw counties gained population in the last decade, but are now losing people. Wayne County lost about 2,500 people annually in the last decade, but according to Census Bureau, now it's losing about 16,000 people a year. Population is a result of 3 components: births, deaths, and migration. Births minus deaths result in natural change in population. In the last decade, there were no counties in the state that experienced significant natural decreases, meaning more deaths than births, the red and orange categories. However, when looking at the map on the right, now there are many counties in the orange and red category with 250 or more deaths than births per year. In the last decade, Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne counties had 1,000 or more births than deaths annually. In the last 2 years, only one county, Washtenaw, had a natural increase. All other 6 counties, including Oakland, had natural declines in population. Migration again has 2 components: international migration and domestic migration. International migration has always been positive for the state. The impact of large universities on international migration is evident in these maps. Houghton in UP, Ingham, Oakland, Washtenaw, and Wayne, along with large counties such as Macomb and Kent, are popping up in these maps. However, the rate of international migration slowed down in the last 2 years. Again, some of it is associated with the travel restrictions imposed by the pandemic. The final component of the equation of population change is domestic migration. The striking difference in these maps is the gains in domestic migration, shown in blues and greens between 2020 and 2022. Essentially, the UP and northern Michigan counties are gaining a lot more population through domestic migration in this decade. Our region has always lost population to domestic migration, but in the last 2 years, we lost more people to the western and northern counties of the state. We believe it is the pandemic's impact on where people are choosing to live because of health considerations and greater possibilities of remote work. We see similar trends in most of the nation. That is, larger, denser, and urban counties are losing population to smaller and rural counties. You can see all the hotspots in the central urban counties of the large metro areas: Grand Rapids in West Michigan, Columbus, Cincinnati, Dallas, Houston, Denver, Salt Lake City, to name a few. The question is if and how long this trend will continue after the pandemic. Now, moving on to other indicators. As we have seen in the slide pertaining to the natural change, our region experienced natural decline in the last 2 years. While the pandemic is one of the reasons for that decline, aging is another reason. The region and the nation as whole are aging. In 2022, more than 25% of the region's and Oakland's counties' population were 65 or older. As boomers age, this phenomenon will only accelerate. Baby boomers are in the ages of 55 to 74 years now. 1/4 of the county's population are baby boomers, the 4th row in the chart. The map here shows the distribution of baby boomers by community. As you can see, much of the region, especially many communities in the rural counties and the western communities of Oakland County, have 25% or more baby boomer population. In the coming years, these communities are expected to age faster. On the other end of the spectrum, only 1 in 5 persons in the county are 18 years or younger, and this share is expected to decrease as we move into the future because of declining births and birth rates. Oakland County is becoming more diverse. The county and the region are witnessing declines in white and Black population and increases in Asian and Hispanic population. Between 2000 and 2022, Asian population experienced the largest gains in the county, the shares increasing from 4% to 8%. These growths in non-white population are also reflective in foreign-born population. Oakland County has the largest share of the foreign-born population in the region. The blue bars show data for the county, red are for the region, green show the data for Michigan, and the violet bars are for the nation. The first set of bars show shares of native-born population for 2010 and 2022, and the second set shows the shares of foreign-born for the same years. As you can see, Oakland County had greater percent gains in foreign-born population between 2010 and 2022 compared to the region and the nation. When looking at the community distributions, communities in Oakland County, such as in Southwest Oakland, such as Lyon Township, Novi, Commerce, Farmington Hills, and communities in the east, such as Troy, Rochester Hills, are the top destinations for foreign-born population. Oakland County also has high share of people with higher education. More than 50% of the county's population has a bachelor's or higher degree, shown by the dark blue bar in the middle. I highlighted the nation, state, region, and the county numbers with an underline to better read them in all those bars and numbers. When looking at the educational attainment by nativity, 62% of Oakland County's foreign-born population have a bachelor's or higher degree. This is significantly higher than the state and the nation. As our region continues to age and we lean on immigration for population growth, it is noteworthy that Southeast Michigan attracts highly educated immigrants. Oakland County also has higher median household income compared to the region and the nation. Each set of bars show the trend between 2000, 2010, and 2022. The county, similar to the rest of the nation, experienced declines in incomes between 2000 and 2010 due to the Great Recession. Incomes have rebounded since then, but we are not yet near the 2000 levels. This map shows the change in median income by community between 2010 and 2021. Blues show the communities where median incomes are on the rise. Most of the communities in Oakland County are on the path to recovery since the Great Recession, with increases in median incomes. So those are some of the data points that I wanted to highlight, but we have many more data at county, community, and tract level on our website. And these are some of the tools through which you can access that data. I encourage you to visit our website. It has a ton of useful data and very easy to use tools. And with that, I will pass on to Jeff to talk about our 2050 forecast. Thank you.
So starting off with our key findings from the new 2050 forecast, we expect continued modest growth in population at 6.4% and in jobs at 9%. It's important to note here that the base year of the employment forecast is 2019 and not 2020, as it is with the demographic side. This is due to year 2020 employment being 10% down because of the pandemic. And since the forecast is first and foremost about the trends in population and job changes, we feel 2019 is a more representative year to use as the base year for the job forecast. We also looked at 4 alternative scenarios in addition to the baseline. These highlighted the effects of lower immigration on our population growth, and the impacts to our economy of different diversification strategies, including faster adoption of electric vehicles. This timeline highlights many of the key changes our region will undergo during the next 30 years. One of the most prominent changes is the aging in place of our population, as the baby boomers all turn 65 by year 2028 and 85 by year 2049. We also expect seniors to outnumber children, something that has not happened in the region before. Jobs in producing motor vehicles will peak in 2032 and decline after that as electric vehicle production, which requires fewer workers, overtakes production of internal combustion engine vehicles. As a result, by 2036, the healthcare industry becomes the region's largest employment sector. Now, SEMCOG's vision is one of a vibrant, connected region that brings small towns and urban centers together and emphasizes our abundant natural resources. It's our regional development forecast that projects the future demographic and economic conditions in our region so we can effectively plan for this future. Our forecast is very comprehensive. It produces projections for multiple indicators, for multiple levels of geography, and is a product of intensive data analysis and computer modeling, as well as input and guidance from local elected officials, planners, and other experts and data users. Now, we produce a new long-range forecast every 5 years. Why do we do this? Well, it helps us to understand long-term trends and changes in our demographic and economic structure, and provides detailed small area data for regional and local planning. And most importantly, the forecast shows us where households and jobs will be located in the future so we can make informed decisions about future infrastructure improvements. SEMCOG made a significant commitment to expanding the amount of local development information that we include in our forecast. We met with more communities and collected more planned development data than ever before, as you can see in these numbers. We also went to great lengths to process site and concept plans into our forecast, which helps inform our model about each community's unique future development trends. And one of the reasons we focus so much on planned future development is that it can show us how the development trends of the future might be different from the past or present. Here you can see that the type of housing units being constructed in the future are more heavily weighted towards multifamily housing than in the past. We can also observe that fewer institutional, retail, and office buildings are going to be built, while the number of medical, industrial, logistics, and leisure and hospitality buildings will be increasing. However, regardless of the type of building being constructed, all building types other than retail are being built much larger than in the past. So fewer buildings will be built, but they'll be much larger in size, which will still lead to an overall increase in the amount of non-residential square footage and therefore job space that's being built. So how do we get from a regional forecast to a local forecast for 7 counties and 232 communities? Well, we collect as much small area data as possible on person, household, and job characteristics. We add to that the planned development data, as well as information on household travel, accessibility measures, and other development drivers, while also ensuring that environmental constraints that could affect development are considered. So now that we've seen what goes into a forecast, let's take a deeper look at the 2050 regional forecast results, starting with the demographic forecast. Understanding the regional trends will help explain the county and community forecast we will see in a bit. The region gained 250,000 people in the 1990s, but lost more than half of that in the 2000s. However, we regained those losses during the last decade, bringing us almost back to the 2001 peak. And then COVID came along and created a small blip in that trajectory. That blip continues through this year, at which point we will again see population growth. We forecast population will grow modestly and return to the 2001 peak by the year 2027, and eventually reach over 5 million people by the year 2045. Overall, we grow at 6.4% over the next 30 years. It is very modest compared to the 14.4% expected increase in US population during the same period. So going forward, how do the different components of population change that Sarisha showed earlier influence our growth? The green bars you see are natural growth, births minus death. Natural growth has been declining since 1990 and will continue to decline due to lower birth rates and higher death rates. By the year 2040, natural growth will be negative. The orange bars represent domestic migration. It has been negative for decades, with more people moving out of the region than moving in. We will continue to lose population to domestic outmigration throughout the forecast period, but at much lower rates compared to earlier decades. The last component is international immigration, the yellow bars. It's positive. We forecast it will increase slightly to meet labor force demand. Adding the components together, we get total population change, shown in the blue bars. We were growing in the 1990s due to high natural growth. We lost people in the 2000s because of domestic outmigration, a result of the housing crash and Great Recession. We experienced growth again in the last decade because fewer people moved out of the region. In the future, international immigration will be the main source of our population growth. The number of people aged 65 and over will grow substantially, from 813,000 in 2020 to 1 million in 2029, and then level off at 1.12 million in 2050. And by 2028, there will be more seniors than school-aged children in the region for the first time ever, which will have far-reaching economic implications, ranging from our labor force to social and community services. The number of people aged 85 or over will remain steady at around 100,000 until 2027, and then grow to 150,000 in 2035 and more than 232,000 by 2050. By the end of the forecast period, all the baby boomers will be aged 85 or older. So declining school-age population has been affecting school districts across the region for the past 20 years and will continue to do so in the future. School-age population has declined by 20% since its peak in the year 2002 and will continue to decrease for the next 10 years before leveling off. The region will have lost a total of 230,000 school-aged kids by the year 2035. After that, there will be a small uptick, but the 2050 numbers will still be lower than the current 2022 level. Before I talk about jobs, I want to touch on the outlook for our labor force, as it is the fundamental driver of our future economy. As you have seen, we have an aging population. This means the labor shortages we are experiencing today will continue in the coming years. This chart shows the cumulative change in the labor force from 2020, with the yellow line representing the total change. For the next decade, most of the growth in the labor force will come from workers aged 55 and older. This is largely due to more people working later on in life. We know that roughly 80% of people ages 25 to 54 are in the labor force, but that number steadily declines after age 55. We're expecting that decline to be less in the future years, leading to more people in the labor force. Now for employment. The first thing you notice is the dip in jobs from 2019 to 2020 due to the COVID recession. From year 2019 through 2050, total employment growth is 265,000 jobs, or 9%. But most of this growth will take place in the next decade. Between year 2019 and 2030, Southeast Michigan will add 133,000 jobs, or half the total growth in just the first 10 years. Most of our region's economic sectors will experience growth. From now until 2030, growth will be strongest in construction, which is the gray bar, professional and technical services, which is the orange bar, and transportation and warehousing in yellow. after 2030, growth will be strongest in professional and technical services and healthcare. If we look at the employment forecast by county, you see a very stable regional economy with continued job growth in each part of the region over the next 30 years. So hopefully this overview of the regional forecast will help explain the trends you are going to see in the forecast results for the county and communities. So now we can dig into the details of the Oakland County forecast. So overall population growth in Oakland County is forecasted at 8.9%, which is about a third higher than the region's 6.4% total growth between 2020 and 2050. A couple of things that jump out is the growth in the group quarters population, which is mainly persons living in assisted living facilities and nursing homes. Given how our region is aging, providing these types of alternative housing for seniors is key to continued growth in the future. The other item of note is the 37% increase in the senior population, which coupled with the declining school-age population raises some interesting questions about the nature of public recreation in the future, with fewer kids and more seniors to plan for. By the 1960s, growth in the county began shifting north to Troy and then Rochester Hills, and by the 1970s, moving out west to Novi. In the 1990s, this growth was pushing north of M59 into places like Independence, Orion, and Oxford Townships, and further west to Commerce and Lyon Township. It is these areas, along with Southfield, that will form the fastest growing communities in Oakland County into the future. But notice that the growth totals themselves get smaller over time, regardless of which part of the county is growing fastest. So the fastest growing communities in 2030s or the 2040s are adding 2,000 to 4,000 people over the decade compared to looking at the 1960s, the 70s, the 80s, where you see much higher growth totals. This is a function of a relatively flat population growth. But perhaps the best way to look at long-term population growth is to look at the county's share of the region's overall population. You can clearly see the post-war suburban growth because the county went from 11.8% of the region in 1950 to above 20% by 1980. By the year 2000, the county share of the population had reached 25% and is forecast to remain remarkably stable around 27% of the region's entire population. And while stability isn't always a cool term, it is exactly the right word to describe long-term success. Households continue to get a bit smaller, and the number of households with at least one senior citizen in the household will increase by 31%. How communities plan for seniors, what services they add specifically for them, will become a key indicator of community success in the future. The Oakland County employment forecast reinforces the overall regional economic trends. Total job growth is limited due to not enough working age people. Manufacturing and retail jobs continue to decline as the economy transitions and as production of electric vehicles increases, since these require fewer parts and fewer workers to build and maintain. You can see the switch from brick and mortar retail to home delivery of goods and the large increase in transportation jobs, most of which are in delivery and logistics. And the growth in seniors is fueling increases in healthcare jobs, the fastest growing economic sector in the region. If we look at employment over a similar period, you see that jobs are less distributed than population throughout the county, in large part due to the locations of large automotive plants, office, and retail centers constructed from the late 1950s through the early 2000s. As we move into the next 30 years, job growth across the county and the region is much more limited as we transition to a less intensive, more home-based economic structure. And you will again notice that the total job growth by decades for even the fastest growing communities is declining over time. So now that we have looked at the region and the county, I'd like to show you how to access forecast results for communities and other geographies. So I'm going to stop sharing this and share our website. So hopefully everyone can see our website now. If you go to SEMCOG's website and you click on data and maps, you'll see we have several options, including a map gallery. When you click on the map gallery, we have a group of featured applications, and the first one you see is our 2050 regional forecast. And so this is what SEMCOG's new 2050 Forecast Explorer page looks like. As you scroll down through the page, you'll see a lot of our documents, including presentations, spreadsheets containing the data by community, by school district, and other geographies, some explanations of how we arrived at the regional and county control totals, excuse me. And then we have some insight sections that we think provide context to the forecast numbers. We have information on the demographic insight, much of which you saw in today's presentation, information on economic insight as well, and land use insight, including our map of plan development. This is a map that basically displays all of the future plan development in Southeast Michigan. These are the site plans and concept plans that communities provided to us. And then we share it back in a map so you can see exactly what went into the forecast. We have a timeline of the significant events in the region moving forward, and then you come down to our forecast map, where you can choose a geography. At the moment, we have forecast results for communities, school districts, intermediate school districts, Detroit neighborhoods, and traffic analysis zones. I'll show those in a minute. Those are small areas that are similar to census tracts. So let's choose a community in Oakland County. And we'll choose Farmington Hills. So you can just click on the map and it will select the forecast results for whatever geography you pick on. So you see here we have the forecast results for Farmington Hills. The forecast summary report provides a bar chart of the change in terms of the total change in population, household, jobs, housing unit. It provides the forecast results in a tabular format, including population and household, with the change in household population, group quarters, population by 6 different age groups, including population age 5 to 17, which are our school-age children, population age 25 to 64 would be our working age population, and then 2 different categories of seniors, the change in housing units and household size, and then several different indicators for household growth, including households with and without children, with and without seniors, and single-person households. We then have the employment forecast by 13 sectors, and then a chart showing the change in job sectors over time. And so it's very easy to select any community that you want to look at. You just click on the map and the forecast report changes. So here it's changed to the forecast for Commerce Township. And you see the same tables and charts. You can also zoom in and look at information by smaller geographies. And as you zoom in, you begin to see individual buildings on the map. These buildings represent future plan development, as well as planned demolitions. So it helps explain the local results. And so if you switch the selected geography from community to traffic analysis zone, you can see now that each community is broken down into its constituent subparts. And you can click on any of these subparts as well to get a very small area forecast for a particular part of a community. And we provide the exact same tabular information for these small areas. Zooming back out. So, community. You can also change the map and choose which indicator you want to look at. Right now, by default, it's set to the change in total population, but you can also display the change in total households in a map form, the change in school age population. There are 6 indicators total you can look at. And if you're not comfortable selecting things off the map, you can simply type in the name of a community, and it will select the results for that community and zoom to it as well. So we think this is a pretty robust tool for showing forecast data for individual areas. If you want to print this information, there's a print button right here. If you click on this, it will produce a formatted report that you can send to your printer directly. Right now, we have, as I mentioned, county, community, neighborhoods, school districts, intermediate school districts, and these small area transportation analysis zones. In the near future, we will be adding additional forecast results for Michigan House districts, Senate districts, and U.S. congressional districts. So there'll be a wide range of different geographies that you can select data for. And hopefully everyone has the opportunity to take a look at this information for their community. And you can always ask us any questions you have about the individual results for any of these geographic areas. So please take advantage of this tool. And if you're looking for data that is more formatted or for multiple geographic areas, we have spreadsheets with the data for every community in the region, for every small area traffic zone in the region, and for all school districts and intermediate school districts. And this is all in spreadsheet format. We also have a formatted PDF that contains the top level results for all communities in the region. This would be total population, total households, and total jobs. So please check this out if you haven't done so yet, to check out your community's forecast, and we're happy to respond to any questions you might have about this. And then let me stop sharing this. And we thank everyone for joining us today and checking out these forecast results. And we'd be happy to answer any questions about anything you've seen today, whether it's the regional trends, the county trends, the community trends. Happy to add more perspective to that.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff and Sarisha. Excellent presentation. We do have a few questions. First one, can someone provide a link or a PDF of this presentation? Jeff and Sarisha, I've got a copy in PDF. I can put it into the chat if you guys are good with that.
Yeah, yep, that would be great. Thank you.
And also, I've included the link to this recording on the county's webpage in the chat box as well for folks to copy. That'll be available. Next question, do the forecasts include different scenarios, such as how various changes in government policy would be likely to impact projected trends?
Yes. So as I touched on briefly, we did have 4 different alternative scenarios run. And the first scenario is directly considers policy, at least at the federal level, and that is what would happen if federal immigration numbers are reduced. What sort of impact would that have on our region, since most of our population growth moving forward comes from federal immigration? And so what we did there is we said, what would happen if our immigration numbers were cut in half due to changes in policy at the federal level? And what we found is that a 50% reduction in federal immigration would lead to a loss of 500,000 people in the region by the end of the forecast period. So that was a pretty substantial reduction. And then the other scenarios, one scenario looked at what would happen if we were to diversify our economy a bit more and basically get a more of a foothold in the financial and insurance industry, similar to say what the city of Pittsburgh has done as they transition out of being a steel, a region, focused on steel manufacturing, to a finance and insurance capital today. And then we had 2 different scenarios that looked at what happens depending on how fast we transition over to electric vehicles. Both of those basically looked at the changes in job numbers over time. What we're actually finding is that the evidence to date suggests that our transition to electric vehicles will be a bit slower than the baseline forecast indicated. So we'll probably push some of those manufacturing job losses out a little bit. All of those scenarios were done for the region. We haven't reduced any of those down to communities yet, but it is something we're considering in the future.
Okay, excellent. Next question. I know you just said it was still in the works for a future release, but do you have an estimated time frame on when the political map for congressional and Senate districts will be published?
Yes, that's something that we're working on right now. And we expect to have that completed by the middle of January.
Okay, excellent. Next question, is the rise of the health sector as a largest employer consistent with other MSAs given the aging population across the country?
Yes, most definitely. The increase in healthcare jobs is most pronounced in New England and the Midwest, as those are the 2 parts of the country where you have more seniors essentially aging in place. For example, I think we all often think of the state of Florida as well, that must be the oldest state in the country. Florida's senior population right now is about 22% of the state. As our region moves forward, we will exceed 25% of our population being seniors. So we will have an older population than even some of the southern snowbird states. And that's across the entire Midwest as well.
Okay, excellent. Another question. The world is changing, and there are people who don't want to change. To many, residential building forms other than single-family residential are bad. Residents fight these projects. The development community does not do a good job of explaining how the world is changing. This presentation is great, but there is a lot to digest. Has SEMCOG given any thought to creating an easy-to-read 1 or 2 page report or infographic that explains why it's important for the development community to provide a wide range of housing types?
That's a very good comment. We do have some infographics that we have put out relating to the forecast, including you know, on the Forecast Explorer, there's several infographics that people can grab and use in their own media, their own presentations. I don't know that we've done one specifically to that issue, but it certainly seems like a good idea. And as we are sort of transitioning out of producing the forecast and into a period of acting on the key messages that the forecast illustrates, I can tell you that housing is at the top of the list and something we're already planning on addressing in the near future, because as we age, different housing forms are definitely going to become more attractive, and the findings that, at least in terms of what's planned to be built over the next 10, 15 years, is predominantly multifamily. That was a bit shocking, since that hasn't been the case in our region, building more multifamily than single family since 1940, since prior to World War II. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of changes that will need to occur to be successful in terms of keeping and attracting seniors in the region.
Do you see changes in the demand for STEM employment? And is there a shift in migration due to the shift in demand?
We're starting to see a little bit of shift in terms of where, what we call household location choice, where people choose to live based on their particular employment circumstances. Statewide, there's certainly been a bit of an uptick in domestic migration in counties that we may have, typically think of as more rural. But I really think it's too early to tell whether that is going to be a consistent trend in the future or not yet. Those changes have been, while they've been positive for more population distribution statewide, those numbers are still pretty low, and I just don't think we can say with any degree of certainty that that's how things are going to be moving forward. It could well result back in how things were in the previous decade.
Okay, excellent. All right, I do not see any other questions in the chat. So Ryan, you want to jump in and
Yeah, I just wanted to thank both Jeff and Sarisha for a great presentation today. Thanks for that. And also thank all of you for joining us today. Just a quick reminder, on December 5th, we have an in-person planners gathering, holiday celebration, and communities come and share what's going on in your community and now and in the future. So once again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.